Should I buy a Corvette? One for sale right there. Tempting. What's going on, everybody? It is Saturday morning here on Scott Family Farms. My name is Jordan Scott. I farm here with my dad. We grow corn and soybeans, and we farm about 1,300 acres or so, give or take. Today, I am getting the sprayer ready to go. We've got some bean ground to spray already. We're putting what's called a pre-emerge herbicide out there. You spray that before the soybean plant emerges, which is why it's called pre-emerge. If you don't get out in front of the weeds, they can get out of control really quick, and then your soybeans will struggle. Weeds are not good when you're trying to grow soybeans, so we got to get on it and get some protection out there for our crop and our investment. Okay, I got some water, just water in the sprayer, and I'm checking out all the nozzles to make sure they're all working right. And something's not shut there, or we have an issue. So that's why we do a water test. If that was all chemical, you'd just be spraying chemical everywhere, and we don't want that for a couple reasons. It's not good for the ground. It's not good for our pocketbooks because chemical is expensive. So if you're wasting it like that, it's not good. That's why we run a water test first and make sure everything's working right and there's no leaks and we're not just spraying stuff all over the place. Found the problem. This is shot, so I got a new one to put in on the end cap. This is a drain end cap. You can unscrew it and it'll open up. So I got a new one to go in there. It goes in here, and we'll get it back on and get her fixed. Okay, let's try that again. Much better. It was leaking right in there. Let's go out and check the nozzles, make sure they're all spraying the way they should. Okay, let's walk down the boom here and make sure stuff's spraying like it should be. I see I've got a leak here. That's not an actual nozzle, that's just a stopper holder. But we'll get that fixed. Not even running, probably just got a bad motor, so we'll get that replaced, make sure that one's working right, but everything else looks good. Got a couple of joints I need to tighten up at the end of the booms, so we'll get that done and get her going. Thought I had the right parts to fix that, but I don't, so parts are on. Got the parts I needed, just leaving the dealership here. Drooling over some new equipment, like always. But while I'm over here, I guess I might as well.
2 all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, and a sesame seed bun.
It's your McDonald's Big Mac. You've got to taste it to believe it, you know what I mean?
Got the parts I needed. I only need one, but I got a spare just in case. We'll get that installed and get moving. This is what I just replaced. This is the motor that runs the, that makes it pulse. It controls your nozzles, and that one was broken, wasn't working anymore, so that's a new one. It just unhooks here and here, screws in, it's real easy. Here's the old one. All right, we got the water test done. Everything's working like it should. Now it's time to throw in some chemical and go spray what we need to. So this is our water truck. This is an old 1985 Chevy. Still running. It's as old as I am, literally. And it's still working, but it used to be used for hauling grain and had sides on it. So we would haul corn and soybeans with it. But we've converted it into a water truck. Took the sides off of it and put this big 2,700 gallon tank on it. So that holds the water. We put a pump and a Venturi system on it, cone. Call that the Ace Venturi. And so we use that to mix chemical. Yeah, it works okay. Works for our situation. We have it on a truck so that we can drive this out to the field if we want to, so the sprayer doesn't have to go back and forth for long trips. But while we're close to home here, we just leave it in the yard. So let's hook up and start filling. I just want to give you guys some perspective on chemical use and chemical use on the farm. I showed you our big 2,700 gallon water tank. That's what we use to fill the sprayer. And the chemical comes in these 1 gallon jugs. There are also 2.5 gallon jugs, and you can get bigger bulk purchases if you're using more. If you're covering more acres, you might use a bulk tank and have a bigger tank for chemical, but what we're doing today comes in 1 gallon jugs. How much chemical am I using? We will use 8 ounces of chemical per acre. Now an acre is just smaller than a football field, so if you can imagine 8 ounces of chemical spread onto a football field, that's not very much. So if you hear stories about farmers that are dousing their crops in chemicals, that's just not true. 8 ounces per acre is pretty low amount of use. Yes, different applications use different amounts of chemicals and different chemicals, and that can be more, but for what we're doing today, it is only 8 ounces per acre. Now, why wouldn't we want to just douse our crops in chemicals? Well, there's a couple reasons. Number one, the plants wouldn't take it. The chemicals would actually kill our crop, and that's not good. It would also damage the soil. If you put too much chemicals on the soil, it won't grow anything, and we don't want that. The soil is our factory. We want the soil in the best shape it can be in. Another reason is chemicals are really expensive. Really expensive. So we don't want to just be dumping money out onto our fields if we don't have to. We use as little as possible. Everything we do here is for a reason, and we weigh the cost and benefits before we do it. Do we use chemicals? Yes. Do we use as little as possible? Yes. Is it necessary? Yes. In our crop rotation it is. Do organic farmers use chemicals? There's a good question. Do organic farmers use chemicals? I'll put a poll up and you guys can vote, and we'll talk about it in the next video. So the crops that we grow here on our farm are all genetically modified, GM crops, or if you hear about GMOs, we grow GMO crops. Why do we grow GMO crops? Science has proven that they are safe to eat. There is nothing different from a GMO crop to an organic crop or anything else that's healthier. There is no difference. GMO crops have been grown for a long time, centuries. They are safe. If they weren't safe, I wouldn't feed them to my family. I wouldn't allow my young son to be eating GMO crops if they weren't safe. The GM crops also allow us to use less chemical, actually, because they're tailored to specific chemicals, like a Roundup Ready corn can have Roundup sprayed on it. And then we don't need to mix a bunch of different chemicals to get the same effectiveness in weed killing. So it actually cuts down on chemical use, the GMO crops. Now when I fill the sprayer holds 1,000 gallons of liquid. Most of that is going to be water, like I talked about. There will be only 6.5 gallons of actual chemical in a 1,000-gallon tank. Most of what I'm spraying out today is water, and that's typical. You're never going to spray more chemical than water. I showed you guys how to mix the chemicals in with this system. There's also the same type of deal right here on the sprayer. That holds down and you can mix your chemicals right on the sprayer. It's the same thing, there's just two different options to do it. Okay, after a lot of preparation, we are actually heading to the field with the sprayer. It just seems like there's always one more thing that you forgot, like the flash drive for the 700 monitor, or my iPad to track what we're doing, or it just seems like there's one more thing that you need to do before you can actually get started. I always say the hardest part is actually starting. It's not the work, it's just getting everything ready to go. So we are ready and we're heading to the field with a full tank, so we're about to get some actual work done now. I also want to mention that I am a licensed operator for spraying. You have to be licensed with the state, have to be a licensed applicator, and I have done that. You have to do it every so often, every couple of years or so. There's also certain chemicals that you need an additional training for, and that has to be done every year. The chemical I'm talking about is dicamba. You need to get certified to apply that every year, and I have done that also. Not that we're going to spray any of it, but just in case, I like to be ready. And a little extra education never hurt anybody. So we get all that done and ready to go before we actually start spraying. I guess what I'm getting at is not just anybody can jump in a sprayer and go spray chemicals out on their fields. You do have to get licensed. You do have to do some training, and there is some tests you have to take in order to be able to legally spread chemicals onto your field. So we have done that and we're ready to go. Okay, I've got the sprayer unfolded. I've got some stuff to set up here on the monitor. I'll show you guys what I'm doing here. First of all, this gallons per acre I need to change to 10. We'll do it this way. 10 gallons an acre. Now it says I have 1,000 gallons in there, which I do. Scott Farms, we are not on the church farm. We are on this field right here. Yes, we farm a field that's called the Sexy Farm.
You're being really immature.
So this monitor up here controls our Aim Command Pro. There's 7 sections across the boom, and this controls them and shuts them off. So I just turned on our turn compensation, so when you go around a corner, the outside is moving a lot faster, and it'll compensate for that and spray out more around the fast part, so you get an even coverage. And then overlap will not spray where you've already sprayed. So a lot of things that this machine controls, it takes a lot of the thinking out of it, I guess. Makes it real easy to spray and not be overlapping and wasting product. Okay, now that that's set up, we are just about ready to go. I just got to turn on the pump, get the fluid in the booms. So let's do that. Got that on, click apply down here. You'll see that little green bar is the pressure, and as I increase engine RPM, that'll go up. That yellow arrow there is where it needs to settle. It'll go all the way up and then come back down and settle there. Okay, there we are, we're good there. Now I just ran a bunch of water through, so there's a whole bunch of water in the boom that has no chemical in it. So I need to get a lot of that water out, which is what I'm doing here. It takes some time to get all that water out and get some actual chemical into the booms. All right, we're gonna go. Let's get some spraying done. We're covering some acres now. Got the sprayer all set up, we're rolling. At 10 gallons an acre, I can cover a lot of acres really quick. I can do 100 acres with this fill. Now I am using auto guidance, so I'm not steering the sprayer. It's following the GPS. And that way we get a nice even coverage over the whole field. And we don't have to worry about it if we got it covered or not. Alright, I got that field done and I've started on a second one. Our field goes right up next to this guy's yard. And he planted a bunch of those new trees there. So what I actually did was I shut off the outside section of the boom to not get close to his new trees, because you will kill them if you put chemicals on them. Also, the wind is blowing away from those trees. So those are all things you have to be thinking about when you are spraying chemicals. It will kill plants like that, especially new trees. New trees are pretty sensitive. Be a good neighbor and think about your neighbors and the money that they spent on those trees. They're very important to them. I'm, yes, protecting our investment on the field, but it's not worth killing somebody's trees and having them pissed off at you the whole time. You need to be cautious and considerate. They were out in the yard, so I went and talked to them and told them what I was gonna do, and just let them know that I'm thinking about his trees and not just my farm. So be a good neighbor. I'll tell you guys a little bit about this sprayer. It is a Case Patriot number 3340. It is a 1,000-gallon tank, like I've talked about. This boom on this one is 120 feet. That means we cover 3 passes of the planter in 1 pass of the sprayer. We can also spray a lot faster than we can plant. If I get a nice smooth field and I'm doing 10 gallons to the acre like I am here, you can go a good 14, 15, 17 miles an hour if you want to through the field, and it'll still do a good job. So you can cover a lot of ground at 120 feet and 17 miles an hour.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious.
So today we're doing some very important work meetings out here. Oh, don't look at that. We're working really hard today. You gotta work hard and play hard too. It's Sunday, so we got our stuff done.
Does it?
There you go!
Yeah!
Oh, dang. Little baby hook. Woo.
Look how far mine went. Holy crap. Who's that guy?